Good evening, DeFiChain gang. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. Very welcome to our next episode of DeFiChain Fireside Chat. Couple of housekeeping items maybe at the beginning. If you like the show, leave us a like. It helps the show and especially our project dramatically. If you don't want to miss one of the further episodes here, click the bell button and leave us a subscription. Then you get informed every time there's a new show. So, without further ado, let's jump right into the show. We brought a fantastic guest tonight. I mean, all our guests are in general fantastic, but I think the gentleman tonight is a very well-known personality in our DeFiChain community. So, I would say, let's let him in. Fabio, good evening. How are you?
Mark, I'm doing great. That's always the best way to start a conversation. Actually, I'm a little bit sick and I had a little bit of a rough night, but
Okay.
I'm doing great otherwise.
Cool. Good to hear that, hey. And, thanks for coming on, even if you're not feeling so well. Fabio, it took us quite a while to get you on the show. What happened?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm following along quite closely every Wednesday, of course, for the new show, and I've like to say that I saw each fireside chat. I probably have, maybe not all of them 100%, but most of them. I don't know. We just have too many awesome guests, I guess, and I'm way down the list. But thanks for inviting me eventually.
That sounds horrible. No, but it's not your fault. Absolutely, it's true. I think we just missed you. Hey, even better to have you now finally here. We talked a lot in the past. You've been on the news show recently. I think everybody knows what you're doing in DeFi chain. Let us take a little bit time today, maybe talk about things that maybe are not so common knowledge out there, if that's okay for you. I would love to talk with you a little bit about your past. What have you been doing before? Where have you lived? And all these things. Of course, we're gonna cover cryptocurrencies, DeFi chain, and the future of DMC and whatever in a little bit later stage of our little conversation. But I would say let's start with the things people don't know so much. This is not a job interview, but I think it would be really awesome if you tell us and everybody out there where do you come from? What are your roots? Yeah, a little bit the background story of the things that have never been told on a DeFi channel so far.
Yeah, sure. So I'm in my mid 30s. I'm married. I have a little kid, a dog, and a cat. Born and raised in Switzerland, a very rural area. So in a small village, 1,000 people, cherry trees, cows, and
What canton? What area was this in Switzerland?
yeah, I moved around quite a bit. So initially Canton Zurich and later Canton Aargau.
Okay.
So northern part of Switzerland, northwestern part eventually. And I wasn't a great student. I wasn't paying attention, focusing mostly on sports. I did handball and MMA
Okay.
during my teenage years, and I had no clue what I wanted to do with my life. So I had one of these sessions with like a job professional. I don't know actually what you call a job advisor,
Mm-hmm.
and they were telling me, yeah, if you want to make good money and if you want to have a future, you should really go into IT.
Okay.
So that's what I did. I studied information technology with a major in networks, and I never worked a single day of my life in that job. Like I told my mom, I don't want to finish this. This is boring, and she kind of made me. It's yeah, it's pretty a German thing to say. As long as your legs are under my table, you're going to do what I say.
Absolutely.
That's what she,
That's how we do it in Europe, right?
that's how things are done. So after my studies, I kind of ventured on and did everything. So I switched jobs every 6 months, and yeah, that's a bit of my earlier part of my history, let's say. Yeah.
Okay. So you switch jobs every couple of months. What happened then? Because the title is kind of revealing a little secret about you. So it says something, the sailor of the crypto seas out there. So I think that gives away that you ended up on a boat sooner or later. How did that happen, and what did you do on the seven seas out there?
Yeah. I'm gonna make this a bit bigger than just how I ended up there. So I think in 2012 or so, so in my
Mm-hmm.
early 20s, a good friend of mine, he called me up and he said, "What are you doing for summer vacation?" And I said, I don't really have a lot of plans. I'm off for 6 weeks. And he said, "Do you want to join us to go sailing?" And I said, "Never sailed a day in my life. Not sure if I can. How does that work?" And he said, "Oh, don't worry. We're like 30 people. Everybody knows what they're doing. So you just join us and you basically drink beer and you lay on deck of a ship." So I was like, "Oh, this this sounds kind of fun." I went to Norway and we sailed. I don't know. We started in Norway. We did Sweden, Denmark, Norway, and ended up in Germany, I think, in the end. And it was an amazing experience. And in the Netherlands, we also been to the Netherlands. And in the Netherlands, there was an evening where we all, like the whole ship and the crew of the ship, we went out to a bar.
Mm-hmm.
And I had one or two too many. And at one point in that bar, I had a conversation with the captain of the ship, and I said, "Hey, this is pretty amazing. How do you become a sailor? How do you end up working on a ship?" And he
Mm-hmm.
said, "Oh, it's pretty easy actually. If you ever consider it, if you ever want to do it, just text me on Facebook." I was like, "Okay, cool, cool, cool." Um, and like 4 years later, I had like a little bit of a setback in life. Let's
Mm-hmm.
call it like that. I quit my job. I kind of was it was at a bad moment in a relationship with my ex-girlfriend back then, and I got kicked out of my apartment. So this was I was mid 25 or so, and I ended up needing to pack my things and moving in back with my mom with 25. And my mom was like, "You're a grown man, so 2 weeks and you're gone." And I was like, "Holy shit! How can I fix a job, an apartment, and everything within 2 weeks? That sounds
Mm-hmm.
almost
Mm-hmm.
impossible." So I went right to work. I sat down on my computer and I texted people on Facebook, on WhatsApp, on LinkedIn, and one of the people I texted was this guy, this captain that I haven't spoken a word to in 4 years. And I just said, "Hey, I need a job. Can I come and work for you?" And uh, 3 days later, he called me and he said, "Yeah, sure, you can start on Monday." And I was like, um, hmm, okay. Um, so I didn't have any other opportunities, and this was fixing two of my problems: a place to stay and a job. So I packed my things, I booked a ticket to the Netherlands, and I became a sailor.
So
And
that means, let me interrupt you quickly. You've been in Switzerland at that time.
I've been in Switzerland at that
Okay,
time,
okay.
and I didn't speak one word Dutch, maybe one or two words, and I didn't know a single bit about sailing. Yeah,
And he hired you
and it
straight
was
away. You said you need a job and said, no worries, come up to the Netherlands. We find you a boat where we put you on. Don't worry about it.
yeah, pretty much. And it was in February, so early time of the year, so there was no sailing. I came there,
Mm-hmm.
and he was like, "Okay, you will need to help me to fix up the ship, to do some painting, to do some woodwork, and things like that." I didn't have any clue how to do these things as well. So he taught me a little bit. And then there was this one point where he said, "Hey, look, tomorrow our first guests are arriving." I said,
Mm-hmm.
"Okay, cool, exciting. So we're going to do some sailing." And he told me, um, "Yeah, you will need to give an instructional talk of approximately an hour to tell these people how sailing works." And I was like completely in shock. I looked at him and I said, "But I don't know how to sail." And he said, "Yeah, but that's not my problem." Because I was under the strong impression that everybody that goes onto a ship like that already knows how to sail.
Okay.
But that wasn't the case. That was just with my group, because they did this for like 10 years or 20 years. So everybody knew. And I thought this is the case for every group. So it was a little bit of a disaster. Let's to put it mildly, because this was a group of Belgian school kids, and they didn't they did no English, no German, but Belgium or
What?
Flams and French, and I didn't. It was terrible, but I learned eventually. Both my Dutch and my sailing skills rapidly improved within the course of a year or so.
Did you all survive? I mean, after your safety briefing in a language that you didn't speak, about a topic that you didn't understand, everything went well so far.
Everything, yeah, well, is probably an overstatement. It was terrible. So I'm just to maybe illustrate how well it went on the first day. Like my captain back then, he was basically shouting at me for 1 hour straight because I couldn't knot at the end of the day you kind of need to knot the ship
Yeah.
to land, and I didn't know how to tie it up. And he can also not really leave the station because he has the steering wheel in his hands, and we also couldn't switch positions because I couldn't steer a ship. So
He hired the
oh,
right
it
man.
was so
He hired
terrible.
the right man for the job, huh?
Yeah, he definitely did. And like after a week or so of doing that, I came, I went to him and we had a few beers together, and I said, "Man, I sorry, but I really overestimated all of this. I'm not sure if this is the right work for me." And he said, "It's going to be fine. The best way to learn these things is if you're kind of in the cold water and you need to swim." And yeah, it took me a few weeks, a bit of reading, a bit of talking to other sailors, and eventually I became pretty good at it. And I did this for 4 years, more than 4 years actually.
Wow, so this was
Uh,
kind of a charter boat, a sailboat that you've been on for private
yeah,
hire. So people actually charter the boat and then they came on board and they spend a week or so on the boat, and you were sailing with them around in the northern seas, or however you call it. Is it the North Sea up there? Or?
yeah, Wadensee, North Sea, and you're spot on. So these ships, just to illustrate that, they're 300 tons, 40 or 50 meters in length.
Okay.
Approximately 36 people live there, and they're traditional sailing ships. So everything's on hand, no motors, no nothing. And these people, they come and they book adventure vacation. So it's basically modern slavery, but it's not slavery because these people, they pay to come to work. It's very physical. It's very rough because you're exposed to northern weather 90% of the time. So a lot of wind, a lot of rain. Yeah. I also didn't know if I would get seasick. I do get seasick. I eventually found out. But there is like a funny rule for seasickness. So out of 100 people,
Mm-hmm.
80 people get, 90% of the people get seasick.
Mm-hmm.
10% don't get, and 10% always stay seasick. So if you're part of the 80%, you were, they call it inslingeren in Dutch, which means you're kind of getting accustomed to
Mm-hmm.
after a week or so, and then you're no longer seasick. But it's the most terrible feeling there is. I can tell you, seasick is not a nice thing. But yeah, it's super fun work. I really love this. This was one of the best things I have ever did, because you see so many different things. You're um, every day or two you're in a completely different city. So this goes from Oslo to Göteborg to Copenhagen, and almost every city that Rostock, Germany, Hamburg. You can go almost everywhere in this area. But I usually, or most of the time, I did exclusively the Northern Sea. And eventually, I even went to nautical college, and I became a captain myself. So
Okay.
licensed.
Congratulations, a
It's not.
licensed captain.
It's not internationally. You cannot call yourself a captain
Okay.
because there are different rule sets internationally. But the correct word is skipper. That
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. And you're allowed to sail around the world, or you hold kind of this license for a certain region, or how does this work?
Yeah, so I'm allowed to sail everything. I'm not allowed to drive big boats without a mast. So I can only sail things where a mast is on, and up to 500 tons. And the for the big boys, so the 500-ton boys, is almost exclusively the Dutch seas, the Waddenzee, and worldwide it needs to be below 15 meters. Yeah.
Okay, 500 tons sounds like quite a big ship, but you said it's under 15 meters.
So these 500-ton ships, the one that I sailed the most on, 3 masts, 380 tons, and 50-meter in length.
Oh wow! So these are really these classical old ships, like you said. So it's not like sitting on a Sunday on a sun chair on deck sipping a margarita and everything is done electronically. It's like really hard work, like we've seen in these old pirate movies or something like that. Setting
Yeah, it's a
sails.
bit. Yeah, setting sails on hand, everything is on hand, and you need to imagine our main sail was 150 square meters, just one sail, and you can pull up six of these things. You need approximately 18 people to raise this sail.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I understand why I said it was more adventure vacation for these people, and they really had to work hard. Okay, cool. Interesting. And they did it year in, year out. So summer, winter, regardless of the weather. I mean, it can get pretty cold and nasty up there, I guess, in winter, huh?
Yeah, usually the season starts in March and it ends in October or early
Ah, okay.
November, because the winter time is really not a time that is nice to be sailing. There are some races and some competitions that happen during the winter time, but this is extremely challenging. So it's usually summer times that you sail pretty much 270 days in a row. So you take a group for 7 days, for 10 days, for 14 days, and the day they leave, the next ones they come like 3, 4, 6 hours later, and
Wow.
then you leave again.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool, cool. So that means you said you did it for 4 years. That means you were living 4 years on the ship, more or less. Beside in winter times, when you had to maintain the boat, you were living on land. But that's why you said you never had or in these 4 years, you didn't own an apartment or you didn't rent an apartment. You were constantly, yeah, related to the ship somewhere.
Yeah, correct. So my I could have a post box at my captain's place, but even during wintertime, you live on board of the ship, and then usually the ship lives is located in a dock. So it's not really the most beautiful place to live, because there's a lot of noise and a lot of people at work, and you basically live on the ship. 4 years in a row.
Cool. It sounds like a super exciting time. So, what made
Yeah,
you stop doing that? And I think you're still in Netherlands. So,
I
I
am.
would I would love to know, why did you stop doing that, and why did you not move back to Switzerland? What happened to you?
Yeah, so at one point, it is a pretty interesting society, the sailing society, let's just say, because it's a small community, everybody knows each other, and it's pretty hierarchical. If you come there, you want to make your way up to become a skipper or become a captain at one point, and otherwise you really lose a lot of credibility. So you want to do this within like 4 or 5 or 6 years, and this is also everybody's kind of telling you that, and you don't want to stay a deckhand or a sailing instructor for more than 4 or 5 or 6 years. So I was very much aware of that, and I became really really good at it, because I was doing it every day and I was really enjoying it. So I thought, okay, maybe I want to become a captain myself and I want to do this. But there are 2 or 3 challenges that kind of messed with me. So one thing was, you are gone 20 270 days in a row. You miss everything. You miss every wedding. You miss every birthday. If somebody close to you dies, you're gone. You cannot attend any event in the, let's say, real life, or real world, because you need to imagine, if you leave the ship has basically its own plan for the year. The people booked a year in advance, and if you leave the ship, you also lose your house, and you need to find a replacement that can kind of fill in for you.
Okay.
So it gets increasingly complicated, even if you want to leave a day or 2 days. So you're bound. Yeah, you're bound to the ship. This is the challenging thing number one, and the challenging thing number two is alcohol consumption, because a large part of people that do this full time, I would consider them to be alcoholics, because
Okay.
you work with tourists. For them, it's a weekend or 7 days or 10 days, so they like to have a good time. And for you, it's 270 days in a row, and everybody wants to have a good time with you. So it is very, very challenging to you know to say no all the time, and being exposed to great parties and amazing people, and yeah. So these were the two main factors where I said, hey, I don't know if this is the life I want to live. Being away from everybody that I know, and kind of partying a lot. So at one point I said, I need to make a decision now. So when I finished in Nautical College, I made a conscious decision to move on. But it was a very challenging point in time, because I just had a new girlfriend, a Dutch girlfriend. I had a dog uh, that I kind of adopted along the way. And so I was, what can I do? Because, and what do I want to do? And before, I don't know, do we want to go into crypto, or just a little bit? Because here is where things kind of
Yeah,
go
where
into
things
crypto.
get nasty or what?
Yeah, yeah.
No, continue. I think that's the logical next step that happened, right?
Okay, so before I went to the Netherlands, like a year or two before I started sailing, I already ventured into crypto. My investment journey began like 5 or 6 years earlier than that, with the great financial crisis. And in 2015, I already kind of got converted into crypto. So before I went sailing, and while I was sailing, I was reading a book a week or so, mostly crypto related, all kinds. All the Bitcoin books, all the crypto books that are out there, I was consuming them in my alone time, let's say. And so this was like a bit of my, I don't know, guilty pleasure, my hobby, the thing that really interested me during my sailing time. And I was like, okay, maybe because I spent so much time voluntarily researching these things and reading these books, maybe I should do something with that. So in February of 2020, when I kind of finished off my sailing career, I made the conscious decision to apply for a crypto job. And I had no clue what I wanted to do and how this would possibly work. And I was also like kind of excluded from everything working related, real life related, for 4 years. So what I did is I went onto Google and I searched crypto jobs. I found like two websites that listed all kinds of jobs, and I applied to all of them, to every single one. I wrote, I think, 170 applications to every advertisement, to every job I could find. And out of 170s, I got 167 no's, or not an answer, no or no answer. Three were inviting me eventually to talk,
Okay.
and one of them was at Cake DeFi, with Julian's wife, with Bettina. And I was still, when I had my interview, I was helping a friend to sail over a ship from, I don't know, Denmark to the Netherlands, I think. And I had my application talk sailing on the sea with my notebook, uh, yeah, with Bettina. So I was like outside, yeah, sitting on the ship, yeah, taking that talk.
Cool. Crazy story. It seems to be a little bit a story of your life, right? Just jumping into something completely new for you. So, and then you got the job, and then the story started. And Cake DeFi or DeFiChain said you don't have to move back to wherever you can stay in Netherlands, and that made you then stay in Netherlands most likely, right?
Yeah, so I was at the point in time I didn't have an apartment. Like shortly before, during the time when I took the interview, I didn't have an apartment. But then I kind of found something on Facebook as well where I could live for a few months. It was a studio, and it was in the nearest city from the harbor. But I knew that I couldn't stay there for long. And then I made plans with my girlfriend, with my wife now, that we both of us we needed to find something. And at that point in time, both of our incomes were not very high, and the housing market here in the Netherlands was absolutely destroyed because it was just COVID just hit,
Okay.
and it was very challenging to find anything to live. So what we ended up doing was, there is an organization here in the Netherlands that takes care of empty buildings, because in many places in the world you have homeless people going into empty buildings and kind of occupying them.
Occupying them, yeah.
And the counter movement here in the Netherlands is they have an organization, and instead of homeless people in those empty buildings, they put people in there that apply to these organizations for like very little money. And we were living in the city center in like the biggest building you could ever imagine. It had 65 rooms, and like an old office building out of maybe 150 years old. Absolutely amazing. 65 rooms for 3 people. Um, yeah, crazy. And we lived there, four stories high, and in the middle of the city center, and that's where we lived for like 6 months or so.
And you just
And
you
during
had you had to maintain or you had to service this building in some way, or I mean, what do you do with 65 rooms? Did you start your Airbnb business there, or
We were thinking about it. No, we just you don't need to maintain it, but you kind of need to. If there is somebody like coming in or dubious people wandering around, you need to report them. You get a key and you get like a reporting duty. If something suspicious happens or something breaks down, you need to report these things. Um,
sounds
yeah,
like some horror movie start, empty building, 65 rooms.
yeah, yeah. That was a great time actually. We were living there with like some old guy in his 50s. My girlfriend at the time and me and this old guy was a really cool time.
Old guy in his
And
50s, right? Hello.
oh, sorry.
Fabio. Yeah,
Yeah.
what made you move out there then, finally? You wanted
So
to have
during
your
these
own
six
place,
months,
or yeah?
yeah, of course.
Okay.
We This was not something sustainable, and we knew eventually that we wanted to have our own little place. So during these 6 months, we were actively looking for something, and now we live in a classical Dutch home.
Okay.
Yeah,
Did you not want to move into a houseboat at one point in time? I remember a story that you said something that you wanna, yeah, a
yeah.
houseboat in somewhere on the sea or on one of the grachten or however you called it up there.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I already signed the contract, and I kind of already bought it, but there was a part of the contract that is like an exemption if we couldn't find a place to put the boat, because you kind of need a designated place from the province that allows you to kind of moor the boat and to lay the boat
Yeah.
somewhere. And we couldn't find this place because yeah, there wasn't anything available, so we ended up not buying the boat.
Ah, okay,
Yeah,
get it. Cool. So that means you never moved back to Switzerland. Hey, I haven't lived in Switzerland. I'm from the Tyrol, so I think Tyrol and Switzerland are quite similar, but still very, very different. How is it? How is it? I also never lived in Netherlands. How is living in Netherlands compared to Switzerland? And do you miss Switzerland? And if you miss Switzerland, what are you missing in Switzerland? What are you not getting in Holland? What you really keen on?
So it's actually a topic I'm really interested in like comparing the two, because you
Yeah.
have both of them are in almost every metric worldwide. They are in the top 5 or in the top 10, like
Okay.
work life balance, life quality, quality of drinking water, quality of education or of healthcare. Both of them are like top notch. It doesn't
Okay.
get any better
Okay.
in both countries. But the main difference, so maybe to touch on a few, is financially. Let me make a few examples. An average Dutch income is 2,500 euros, and you live a pretty good life here in the Netherlands with 2,500 euros, because everything is accounted for. Everything is net, and everything is cheap. You buy a house here in the Netherlands for 250, 300,000. You buy a nice house.
Okay.
So if you compare that to Switzerland, an average salary in Switzerland is more in the range of 5,000 to 6,000 euros, and an average house is approximately 1 million. So the quality of life is the same, I would say, but the prices are not the same at all. And of course, you have a bit of a weather difference. So Dutch has a sea climate, meaning not so hot summers and mild winters. And in Switzerland, right now, you get really hot summers and cold winters. So in the Netherlands, you don't really have a lot of snow. And that's probably one of the things I miss the most, mountains and snow, because here everything is flat and we don't get any snow.
Okay.
And people-wise, which is one of the most noticeable differences, is so Dutchies, they have a word. It's called gezellig. It means like
Yeah.
something like cozy, friendly, with a lot of people. Yeah, and Dutch people really are gezellig. Like it's they're very friendly, they're very open-minded, very welcoming, very talkative. And you could not really say the same thing about Swiss people. Swiss people are really the word doesn't even exist in the language, so that might tell you something. And they're more
What
a
they do,
bit.
they don't have to work. I think in German it's gesellig, right?
Yeah. They, of course, the word kind of exists, but it means a bit. It
Aha.
means
Okay.
something
So the meaning
else.
is a
Like,
bit different.
yeah, in the Netherlands, is really one of the most used words. So if you, for example, if you have a party with 10 people, you invite your neighbor. Your neighbor comes in and he sees, oh, there's 10 people. The first thing he's going to say is, "Oh, gezellig." Uh, oh, what nice! A lot of people. It's really.
So
It's I really like
they're
the
all
word.
kind of extroverts. They're very easy to connect to each other, while
Very
the
easy to
Swiss are more
connect.
like introverts and try to stick to themselves. Maybe.
Yeah, fully agree.
Okay.
And what made me stay here in the Netherlands? I was actively considering going back to Switzerland, and I still am sometimes. But you need to see. So I've many people might know that, but I really try to achieve FIRE, so financial independence, retire early. And for a FIRE concept, you kind of need 25 times your annual expenses. And my annual expenses here in the Netherlands, they are,
So much
inexistent. I
lower.
can live a
Okay.
fantastic life with $30,000 a year. In Switzerland, I would be considered poor with that money. Here, I'm rich. In Switzerland, I'm poor with the same amount of money. And the same goes for buying a house. And I'm very practical and pragmatic in my approach to living. So there's only two scenarios I really consider, because now I have a 6 months old baby and I want to have another one, at least one or maybe two. So there's only two geographical locations that I would consider living in. One is in a 1 hour radius where my parents-in-law are based, or the other would be where my parents are based in a 1 hour radius. Yeah. So there's only two options, the Netherlands or Switzerland. And right now, financially, it just makes so much more sense to live in the Netherlands. Because as I said earlier, I can buy a really, really nice house for 300,000 with no down payment here in the Netherlands. In Switzerland, just the down payment alone would be 200 to 300,000 for the same house. So
Okay.
it's crazy.
Okay, I understand. What I've heard about Netherlands, it's a very cycling friendly society, right? They build a lot of infrastructure for bicycles. They have a huge bicycle parking in Amsterdam at the train stations and stuff. Is it true? Is this only the picture we get portrayed on TV, or is really everybody cycling around on their Dutch bikes?
Everybody's cycling, from very young people to very old people. So two examples here, maybe the first 3 years of me taking an apartment, both my girlfriend and myself, we didn't have a car. We were doing everything by bike. And then we kind of had a wagon to attach to the bike if we needed to do like heavy groceries, or, even when we go to IKEA, you take the bike with like an attachment to the bike. There's people carrying refrigerators on a bike, and from my girlfriend's grandfather, he's 85 years old. He does everything by bike, every day, all day. So it's really like everybody has a bike, everybody's using them, and it's very, very friendly. So yeah, that's definitely something that adds to the quality of life here in the Netherlands. And another thing maybe that you can also compare Switzerland to the Netherlands is people don't work 100% here. Nobody does. Everybody works 28 to 36 hours, not even 36 hours. Usually they work 28 hours a week. And so work-life balance is a lot better here.
Okay, how's the language? I mean, after 4 years on the boat, most likely your Dutch was fluent. But how long did it take you, or how long would you say if somebody moves to the Netherlands? How long would you need to speak the language that people can understand you, that you can do your everyday life without being, without being like impacted by your language skills?
Yeah, so Dutch is considered one of the most difficult languages that
Really?
you can learn. Really. But there's a big but. If you were coming from a Germanistic background, so if your language is based in German, so like English, for example, or German, they're both, of course, of German origin. You will have a lot easier time. And also for Swiss people, it is very, very easy because we use the same kind of voice and tonality and things like that. And Dutchies are, everybody speaks German, almost everybody, and everybody speaks English. So I had a very easy time during my first 6 months. But the people here, the people that are sailing these ships, they're very proud of their heritage. They're very proud of their language. So my captain, he said, I give you 90 days. In 90 days, I'm going to explain everything to you in German, in English. And after 90 days, I'm just going to speak Dutch to you. If you don't understand it, it's your problem. And he even gave me 10 words per day to learn. And I remember the first one that he gave me. The first one was plaatsvervangende schaamte. And it means, in German, it means fremdschämen. In English, it means he was.
I wouldn't know how to translate that.
Yeah.
Fremdschämen in English? I really have no idea.
Yeah.
If that even exists, let me check.
Yeah, it's a very difficult word. It's like he was a bit afraid to stand next to me because I was like disappointing him, something like that. Yeah,
Okay,
but
second-hand
it's
embarrassment. That's what
yeah,
Google
okay.
Translate says,
Yeah,
but that is a kind
he
of an
was
awkward
embarrassed.
translation. He was embarrassed. Okay.
Yeah, so it took me 6 months or so to pick up the basics, and now I speak it perfectly. Like my
Okay.
Dutch is as good as my English, maybe even a bit better. Yeah.
Cool. Hey, really cool. Really good story. A lot of stuff that I think nobody knows about you so far. Appreciate sharing this with us. Hey, I prepared. Let's do a quick breezer in the middle. That's the. I prepared a couple of quick fire questions. I want to try this today. You're the first one, the fireside chat. A couple of things connect actually to the stories that you told us already. So I think it makes a lot of logic. Are you an Android or iPhone guy?
iPhone all the way. iPhone all the way.
Oh, there's Apple logo up there. What's your favorite
So
beverage?
much that
Yeah, that so much
so
that.
much that next week Tuesday there's an Apple event. Since like 10 years, I follow every single Apple event live when they introduce new products. Like I'm the biggest Apple fanboy there is.
Ah, okay. So the big keynote event where they introduce the new products. Well done, well done. Julian's gonna like that. He holds a lot of Apple shares. Somebody has to buy the product. But I agree. I'm also Apple fanboy. We've got something in common. What's your favorite beverage? I know you drink a ton of coffee, but is this nowadays your favorite beverage, or is it? What is it?
Yeah, I would probably say my favorite beverage is probably coffee. I love beer, I love wine, I love water, and my guilty pleasure is Coke. But yeah, favorite beverage definitely
Like
coffee, black.
the real Coke with sugar, or because I'm a Coke Zero guy, but this is just because I feel guilty all the time when I consume too much sugar.
Oh yeah, same, same. So like yeah, if I really want to sin, if I really want to feel bad, I drink Coke with real sugar. Yeah.
I think there are worse sins to commit or worse crimes to commit than drinking a Coke with sugar. That's how far we got in this world already. I did something really horrible. I had a Coke with sugar. Hey, if you could teleport right now, where would you go? Let's say for a
Phew.
day at least, like just to take a quick time out. Teleport, press the button, you end up wherever you want to be.
Yeah, probably Dominican Republic at the beach and drink pina colada for a day or so. I really hate that here in the Netherlands we usually have bad weather. I love beaches. I love tropical climate. So probably I would teleport to some Dominican Republic island at some nice beach and yeah,
Okay. But
Cuban cigar and pina colada.
a nice weather guy and then living in the Netherlands. Okay, yeah, that's
Yeah,
interesting.
I know, I know.
Are you a minimalist or a hoarder?
I would love to be a minimalist, but I'd probably hoard too much to be one. But you know, on a scale from minimalist to hoarder, I'm probably more on a minimalist side.
Okay, now that's interesting because I thought with your life, with your past 4 years on the boat, most likely you cannot own too many things, right? It's all quite of limited. Okay, I would have said you're a
Yeah.
minimalist. Okay, see, I got that wrong. I think we touched on that already. Sport active or in front of the TV on the sofa?
Uh, yeah. I used to be very active
Okay.
in during my teens. Now it's walking my dog and going to the gym, and I should go more. So I currently, if I'm really being honest, I'm going twice a week, and I should probably be going 4 times a week because I
Okay.
really gained some weight.
Okay, get it. Wait, hold on. What's the next one? We had the minimalist already. That's a crypto question. I wanna put that back to the very end. What makes you really angry, Fabio?
Um, I don't know. Currently, I'm
Currently.
politics. Yeah, like I just think that a lot of places in the world right now are not in a good place, and I really hate a lot of things that are going on in the public sphere. I think we're really losing. I don't know our heritage and where we came from and why. I don't know. I hate it when people. So okay, I know I'm going to trigger some people, but
No, that's fine.
um, there there are a lot of nihilistic people out there that just think, oh, we are too many humans and we are bad for the planet and we shouldn't have kids. And this is something that really triggers me. That I think is like a cancer to society because I love humans and I think it's great that we're here. We should be many more humans and we should go to a lot of other planets and we should have a lot of kids. Yeah,
You like the act of making kids, as it seems. Okay, cool.
of course.
Get it. Before we come to the crypto question, last one here. If you could choose a person that you could have dinner with, at least once, somebody you've never met, somebody you adore, admire, a hero of you, dead or alive, who would you pick? You've got only one choice.
Oh, It's pretty easy for me. It's gonna
Yeah.
be my dad. Yeah,
Wow. Okay. I didn't expect
yeah,
that question. So your dad passed away already, or?
yeah. When I was very young, when I was 9 years old.
Ah, okay. Cool. Cool. Great answer. I didn't expect that. I thought you're gonna say somebody like, I don't know, some other famous person. That's cool. I love the question. Hey, so let's dive a little bit into crypto. I mean, crypto community here, but I find it so much more interesting to hear a couple of other things. What's your biggest crypto bag?
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin. Okay, I think most
Always
people,
was, always will be.
most people expected that. Okay, cool. How do you see the crypto markets, Fabio? And I think you talk a lot about this. I think people know you are a big Bitcoin fanboy. Let's talk maybe a little bit more also about DeFiChain. I mean, you work for a project that builds decentralized finance applications and stuff. Um, how do you see DeFiChain at the moment? Where would you like to see us in the near future? And that's not so much about price. I mean, price, we always want that the price goes up. What's on your mind? What's on your heart in some way when it comes to DeFi chain? How do you see our journey? What do you want to tell us?
Yeah. So I think in general, we do have a very young community. Because all of this started in 2020, and many people joined in 21 or in 22, and they haven't experienced these cycles and the volatility. And one thing, the message that I really want to get out there is, just go and look at some data in previous cycles, because a lot of people, they will assume, okay, something corrected 88%, 90%, 92%, whatever, and now it is dead. And because it kind of sometimes it feels like it, because people are just so negative on social media, the volumes are down, the price chart looks devastating, and things like that, and people really lose themselves in this
Okay.
and kind of capitulate in these moments. But if you just go back in history and you look, let's just pick a top 10 project out of the old cycles. Like, for example, in 2017, we had XRP, XLM, so Stellar, Ripple, or Cardano. All of them were in the top 10. And all of them did more than a 90% correction against Bitcoin in the following years. And it took a very, very long time until they rebounded. So from the lows or the beginning of the bear market in December of 2017, it took 3 straight years until they recovered, namely in November of 2020. And if you just kind of copy paste that to the situation where DeFiChain is in, we had our top, I think, May 2022, I think even.
Yep.
But let's just apply the general crypto top, which was approximately November of 2021. And if you take 3 years uh, and add it up, you're going to end up at the end of 2024, which is like still a year to go. And that's just how it has been. And this, we're talking about, the blue chips, the big players, the top 10 projects here. And the question that I would have put to the community and that you really should ask yourself is, why are you expecting that DeFiChain should be any different from any other project out there? Like, this is just a normal thing that these coins, they have volatility, they tend to correct 90%. This is part of the game. And I was under the impression that everybody that is getting into crypto is aware of that, because Bitcoin had many corrections of 80% plus, and all crypto tokens, they do have these corrections. And the question that I see happening in chat over and over and over again on Twitter and on Telegram is, why is it going down? Why is it going down? And I don't know. This is probably and here how do I see the crypto markets? It was your initial question. So I just like to look at how it has been, and I like to extrapolate that out in how it's going to be. So we got a halvening coming up. The Fed will eventually print its money again, and I see a very good outlook for each and every one of us. We're all going to make it, but we kind of need to hold on until the end of next year.
Cool.
That's my general assessment.
So that means that you're a strong believer in a kind of a cycle theory where we see a bull market if there's a halving of Bitcoin. You still believe in this narrative, right? I mean, I do. I had a very interesting conversation with this gentleman recently, and he was kind of negative. And I said, I think if you are in crypto, you need kind of a narrative that applies to you, that you can believe in. Otherwise, what are you doing in crypto, right? If crypto is all shit, why are you in crypto in some way, right?
So
And
let me hit.
yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Nah, I just want to say, and my answer was, see, I believe in a cycle theory, and I think things go down and things go up, right? And you just kind of mentioned that a similar story.
So let me hit two flies with one bet,
Yeah.
because we don't really know if the cycle theory is wrong or not. Until now, it has not been invalidated. But so for the people that don't believe in cycle theory, you need to believe in something, because why is it that it is 4 years every time, all the time? And you can really look at, for example, M2 money growth. And you will see that the M2 money growth kind of nicely overlays with that 4-year cycle. And now we can talk about, is this coincidence, or did Satoshi maybe know that this moves in 4-year cycles and attach the halving to it? But at the end of the day, look, I think the money printer goes again next year, maybe even this year if something breaks. And if the liquidity is on, if the money printer is on, crypto will pump. I'm a simple guy. I believe in a simple rule set. And look, one thing here. Many people, they call me a Bitcoin maximalist, but I'm really not, because I like to follow data, clear, strong data. And I like to have a very rational approach to cryptocurrencies. And now I'm going to offend people again, because so the rational allocation when it comes to cryptocurrencies, there is clear data. Traditional portfolio theory called Sharpe ratio, whatever metric you want to use, from a mathematical standpoint, it just gives you the best outcomes when you allocate 65 to 75% into Bitcoin and 25 to 35% into Ethereum. That's just from a mathematical perspective. And also, like, for everybody that believes in the flippening, I don't believe in it. But if Ethereum would eventually flip Bitcoin, guess what? If you allocate like that, you're not going to lose out on anything, because your positions will balance out to 50-50. And now let's talk DeFiChain, because in my opinion, and here is where I'm going to offend people, there is only 3 use cases in crypto. In my opinion, only 3 use cases. And these are money, digital store of value, digital gold, the class that Bitcoin is in and doesn't really have any competition in it. Like, of course, Ethereum, people like to say Ethereum is money. It's not. It's a different thing. But the other 2 use cases are stablecoins, which is one of the biggest use cases out there, and the third and most important use case is tokenizations of assets. And DeFi, you can also call it DeFi. Let's just call it tokenizations of assets, because it can be all kinds of tokenized assets. And I really don't see any other use case out there. And here, this is also the reason why I am invested and I'm following DeFiChain along, because DeFiChain is exactly in this area, solving actually a use case that needs to be solved. And guess what? You have many people out there, many Bitcoin maximalists, that feel exactly the same way as I feel. Even Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, he literally said the same thing. And you have many other people from traditional finance that kind of say that, these are the main use cases. I know many of you out there think there are a lot of other use cases. Yeah, sorry, it's I really don't think so.
No, good to hear. Interesting point. So you're holding Ethereum?
I do. I approach this very rationally.
Okay. Like you said, there's a certain percentage you should hold, and you kind of follow along these recommendations. Yeah. Okay, cool.
But I hold 3 assets, just to be fully transparent, and even a larger part of the community even knows how much
I know.
I
You
hold.
told me it's Doge and a little bit Shiba Inu, and but that's okay.
Yeah, I do hold some Doge, but I don't count this as part of my portfolio. It's
As
just
a holding, it's more like a
no,
hobby.
but it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, and DeFiChain, and I'm also very transparent and open in how much DeFiChain I hold. I don't want to give you the exact percentages because that would kind of expose my whole overall portfolio. But I basically have two masternodes and a little bit of money to play with. That's my allocation, and then just I already see people kind of, oh, but you should have much more or
Yeah, exactly.
whatever.
What's wrong with you?
Um, so look, I approach life pretty pragmatic, and I work for the crypto company. I get my salary in crypto. I have a large part of my net worth in crypto. I kind of need to hedge myself. So if I cannot be overexposed into this one area, because if something goes wrong, and there's always a chance it can go wrong, I'm basically completely effed. That. But I think this allocation is fine because I believe in the long term success of it, and I think everybody that has a full masternode. Firstly, you can vote and influence the future, and secondly, I think it's more than enough to give you firstly some nice cash flow, and secondly some
Yeah,
financial independence at one point.
exactly. Because if DeFi flips Bitcoin one day, then everything's gonna be fine anyway, right?
Easy.
Easy. Cool. Good. So, Fabio, interesting. I love it. Let me see. What else have we got there? I want to talk a little bit. I mean, we've got some time left. I want to talk a little bit, a couple of more minutes. I know we approached the hour already. Community. You're kind of the captain of the community. You are like the good soul of the community. You try to bring people together. There's a lot of hate sometimes. There's sometimes politics. There's people are jealous. People, I don't know. It's just normal life, right? How do you see our community? You said it's a young community, but you are planning to do this. Uh, how do you call it? The new project now, DeFiChain 2.0, we call it. What do you wish from the community? What? How can we help?
Yeah. So right now during bear market times, and you could really see this in previous cycles with other community, the community kind of compresses and distills to its bare essence, to the people that really believe in
Like the
it, the people that
hardcore,
keep on
the real believers. The okay.
100%. Like you get a lot of mercenaries in any investment class, in every community, but these people already left. They were just here to make a buck. They didn't care about the tech. They didn't care about the vision, the mission, or anything. They came, they went, and probably sold at a loss, and are moving on to other things. They're probably going to be back as soon as we're pumping again. That's so. What's left? We have the core believers that are still here, and I could really see this in 2018 and 2019. The people that commit to things in these times and
Mm-hmm.
start to build something, become a content creator, a writer, set up your newsletter, set up your YouTube channel, and really put in the discipline and put in the work. They came out the other end with a lot of success because you kind of already now it's time to build a base. And when people come in, and they will, if the money printer goes on again, if the halving comes and everything cycle theory plays out, then we will have this influx of people again. And the people that put in the work in this year and maybe even the first half of next year, they can kind of reap their rewards. Same goes for companies. What I would love to see a bit more is maybe a bit more positivity
Mm-hmm.
in the community. And like the question you should ask is, there's a lot of people that kind of play the finger pointing game and the outsourcing game. It's like, what can DeFiChain do for me? What can other people do for me? And who is to blame? And instead of that, I would really like people to kind of pick up the cross and carry it up the hill. Uh, like, go out there and ask, what can you do for DeFiChain? Uh, that's a good question to ask. What are your skills? What do you bring to the table? And try to kind of start up something, be active in the community, try to connect, and see the positive side of things. Yeah, that would be extremely helpful.
I love it. Yeah, I think it's so easy to be part of this positive movement, right? Even if you cannot, I don't know, you're not a developer, or you don't want to build a business on DeFiChain, or just repost, retweet some kind words under some interesting posts. Do these things. They enforce positive behavior. Be part of a positive movement. It's really it pisses me off sometimes, right? To see the negativity and the trolling and jealousy and bullshit sometimes. But like you said, the the bear market also weeds out the bad people. I mean, bad people, quote unquote, in a community as well. Oh, that's the third cup of coffee. Yeah, that's gonna be. I think I skipped the Coke today, the Coca Cola.
It's empty.
Yeah, but I think it's so easy to help out here a little bit, right? So it doesn't need much just to create a very nice environment, and it also helps the people who do the heavy lifting, like you, for example, to stay positive. I think it's nice to say, hey, that's a great post. Thanks for doing the video. Thanks for making this nice NFT. Or I think it's very easy to help and contribute and support each other out there.
Maybe if I'm allowed to drop a little bit of, let's say, an unpopular opinion on
Go ahead. Go
DUSD and
ahead. You
on
go ahead.
look, I see a lot of people talking about USD, criticizing, I don't know, the community, criticizing other people, criticizing the devs or whatnot. And I think it's important to manage expectations here. And I have maybe a little bit of an unpopular opinion, but the best thing that can happen to the USD is actually for it to go below 1 cent, uh, and DFI price to increase and the USD price to decrease a lot, because and as fast as possible. And if you're aware of that happening, not selling your DUSD and allocating when the price is going into the 1 cent area, the ecosystem can recover extremely fast, and people will get fabulously rich by doing it. And I know, not everybody thinks, okay, if it goes to 1 cent, it will never be able to recover. But I beg to differ. I think not at all. It's the complete opposite. But I think the best thing that could happen is DFI price up, DUSD price down, some short-term pain, and then we can move on from that.
I would buy a shitload of DUSD if that happens. So
Yeah.
I
And
would
the other thing,
I wouldn't mind. Yeah.
we are in the finishing stages of DMC, and I am excited for that because. And here also, I kind of urge the community, because if you're considering launching a token or building something, look, I'm pragmatic when it comes to crypto. And one thing that really does work, you could really see, if you have been part of the community in 2020, remember the mid of December in 2020, we paid, I think, I don't even know what exchange it was, a little bit of DFI for some kind of airdrop, and everything exploded out of this. It was crazy. Like, our Telegram groups, they got just flooded with people. The price was pumping from 20 cents to $2, and we were able to catch a lot of attention back in 2020. And I feel if we approach DMC with the right mind, and people are really looking into these marketing activities, especially airdrops, and they're doing this in a good way, and they can catch the attention of airdrop hunters and a bit of the broader community, that we really get some main stage light when we are launching that, things can really, really, really explode from here. I think it's important that we capture some new investors. I think some mercenaries are probably going to come back. We have some exciting things that are going, but here as well, manage your expectations, because it's not going to pump instantaneously. It's not, okay, MetaChain launches in October or in September, and in December we're going to be at an all-time high. Not at all, because sometimes in crypto, the fundamentals really don't matter that much. It's usually cycle theories and liquidity that plays the game. And but we have good timing, because liquidity is coming back probably next year. At least that's the bet I'm making. We have the halvening. We have, everything kind of can play out as it kind of should. So I'm DMC is legit. There's a lot of stuff happening, but don't get your expectations up too much. You probably need to wait another year for the rewards really to come in. But that's a good thing because now we get another year to build.
And I completely agree. And don't be afraid to join early, because the early bird catches the worm. So many people said, "Oh, I wish I would have bought when DFI was like, I don't know, a couple of cents, or I would have been there at the very beginning." These things can happen again, and it's a great price actually, even to buy DFI now. Still,
Hey, I mean, for all these people that said, "I wished I would have bought if I had 10 cents or 20
yeah,
cents,"
but now
guess what? You
yeah,
got
but they are
the
shitting their
10.
pants now. The problem is everybody who says this is shitting their pants. This is like this. I wish I would have bought Bitcoin when it was lower, and then Bitcoin goes down, and nobody wants to touch it, because nobody wants to buy something that is going down in price, not in value, but in price. But old story, right? No, but I completely agree with you, Fabio. DMC is a great thing. Just give it a little bit time, and don't feel shocked if things are not like exploding in the next moment.
100%.
Fabio, a lot of good stuff. In the background, we see the DFI chart or Bitcoin chart.
It's the Bitcoin chart on a weekly.
The Bitcoin
Yeah.
chart on a weekly. Cool. Where is Bitcoin gonna be? Last question. End of this year. Price prediction. Crystal ball.
Whew,
Magic.
tough
It's
one.
hard to say.
So let me maybe do a 40-second answer for that. I expect it to go a bit lower. 22, 23,000 in the short term,
Okay.
and then it all depends on the ETF approval. And many people think, okay, this is definitely going to happen next year. Recent news or recent research kind of changed my mind a little bit on that. So I can completely foresee that this might even happen this year. And if it does happen, oh my God, it can go up high very, very fast.
You got a message on your screen. The moment when you mention the price, you get a warning, most likely.
Yeah. I'm using multiple devices, and sometimes it's switching it off.
Okay. I thought
So look,
it's a warning.
in my
price.
opinion, it is the clock is ticking, guys. The clock is ticking. If you want to accumulate cheap coins, cheap crypto, it doesn't matter if you're into anything, into Bitcoin, into DeFi, into Ethereum, whatever. The time to buy is now. Maybe we're going to go lower. No, nobody knows. But when this ETF is approved, and it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. When this ETF is approved, my God, this whole space is going to explode again. The halvening is coming. The Fed is going to turn on the money printer. The hopium. See, I brought some hopium. Buy now and reap the rewards within the next 2 years.
Well done. You earned your money today very well. See, we came back to crypto. Cool, full circle. Fabio, thanks so much for coming. I think it was really interesting. I enjoyed that. I learned a lot about you today, and
Thanks
I
for
hope
having
so.
me, Mark.
Yeah, very, very welcome. Hey, we have to do this another time again, or you join us in a new show, whatever. We stay in touch,
Cool.
guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had a similar great time than I have with Captain or Skipper Fabio here on my side today. Leave us a like, leave us a comment as well. Give us feedback, how you like the show. What do you think about Fabio's assumptions and theories? Always interesting to read. And yeah, if you follow along with us, then yeah, I hope to see you in the next fireside chat or one of the other formats that are coming pretty soon. With that said, have a nice evening, and yeah, see you next time. Fabio and everybody out there, bye-bye. Have a good one. See you soon.